Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our SpeakOut series. My name is Rally Chekarova. I'm the Executive Director of the Bolt Foundation and the moderator for today's career discussion focusing on the drywall trades. The Bolt Foundation has a very simple but important mission to inspire the next generation of construction professionals right here in the Greater Toronto Area. One way to do that is to ensure that young people have the information they need to choose a career that they're passionate about and can be successful in. This series facilitates discussions on the in-demand careers in construction and how young people can get started. Each panel is made up of industry professionals, including union reps, employers, and apprentices, to provide useful insight into the education and training requirements, physical demands, what to expect day to day, and advancement opportunities within the specific construction career. I want to acknowledge and thank our series sponsor, RBC Future Launch, for their generous support of this important initiative to help close the information gap and get more youth interested in construction careers. Let's hear from our sponsors now.
Hi everyone, my name is Mark Beckles and I'm the Vice President of Social Impact and Innovation here at RBC. Today, youth are the most unemployed age group in Canada, with almost 800,000 young Canadians not currently in employment, education, or training. Canada's skilled tradespeople that have long been the backbone of our economy are more critical than ever, and so is solving this sector's main challenges: the underrepresentation of women and immigrants, the need to double down on digital training, and the ongoing stigmas around trades careers. And while these challenges are significant, so are the opportunities. Through the RBC Future Launch partnership with Bolt, we aim to ensure that you understand what opportunities are available in the skilled trades industry and how to get started in a career that you are passionate about. Because at RBC, we see a future in your future.
Today's discussion focuses on the different career options related to drywall installation. Let's take a quick look at what some of those career options look like on a high-rise residential site.
Drywall. This includes framers, insulators, the boarding crew, tapers, and the plasterwork crew. The first crew in are the framers. The framers read the construction drawings to determine the layout of where the walls are to be built, and then they mark the floor with blue chalk in a step called layout. Measurements are made by the framers, and then steel tracks and studs are cut and installed to create walls, ceilings, and bulkheads. Steel studs are used and required by the building code in condo construction because they're non-combustible. Using steel studs does give you really flat ceilings and straight and even walls. After the ductwork is installed, the framers return to box in around the ducts with steel studs. The steel studs and tracks are connected together by the framers using screws and cordless drills. Now for the next step, we bring in the insulators. This crew cuts and installs bats of insulating material and carefully installs them into the walls that call for this material. Sometimes it is required for thermal insulation, others to reduce sound transmission, and sometimes for both. After the insulation is passed by the building inspector, the next crew in are the boarding crew. This crew installs drywall sheets to the steel stud framing. Different types of drywall are used. The board crew must refer to the construction drawings to determine if a wall requires a thicker, special fire-resistant drywall or a tile backer board that is installed in wet locations. The boarding crew measures, cuts, and then secures the drywall to the steel studs with screws. Once the boarding is complete, strips of metal corner bead are installed to provide a strong and neat corner to the outside of the walls. The next crew in are the tapers. The tapers fill the seams between the sheets of drywall and the corners with drywall compound, typically called mud, to make the drywall installation a smooth, even, and paintable surface. 3 coats are typically applied. Each coat must dry, then at the end be sanded and smooth so that it's ready for primer. The next trade in is the plasterwork crew. Specialty products are mixed together to the right consistency, then applied onto the concrete ceilings with a hawk and a trowel. This is very skilled work requiring a steady hand. With time and experience, a plaster applicator leaves behind a perfect, smooth surface ready for paint.
All right, so with that great visual of the work, let's meet our industry panel. Anthony, let's start with you. Please tell us about your role, your organization, and how you got started.
Thank you, Riley. Thank you very much for having me today. My name is Anthony Reno-Mato, and I am the general manager of Torino Drywall. Torino is a drywall company that primarily works in the greater Toronto area. We work on high-rise residential, low-rise residential, as well as ICI projects, so industrial, commercial, and institutional. Our main focus is high-rise residential, and we currently employ over 700 workers. It is a family-run business, 3 generations. I'm the 3rd generation. So my grandfather started the company back in 1964. So we've been around for almost 60 years now. How I got started? Well, I've been in construction since I can remember. I started as a laborer since I was a young kid. I think 8 or 9 years old. I was picking up garbage on the sites. And then from there, working every summer between school as a laborer, and then up into a handy worker and service technician, a field foreman, and then up to a general manager where I am today. I love the trade. I love the construction atmosphere, and it's a great industry to be a part of.
Well, thank you so much for that. Tom, we'll go over to you with the same question. Please tell us a little bit about your role, your organization, and how you got started.
Yes, thanks, Raleigh. My name's Tom Smith. I work with the Interior Finishing Systems Training Center, which is IFSTC. It's a very large training center that trains for 4 different trades in the interior sector. First one being drywall acoustic, which is what you saw in the video. The finishing, mudding and taping. We also do the hazmat sector, as well as the exterior finishing, so stucco. My role here at the training center is I'm the apprentice liaison, and what I do is I conduct the interviews for individuals that are looking at getting into the sector. Our 2 main courses or trades that we train here for are both red seal trades. So the drywall acoustic is a red seal, as well as the finisher plaster trade. I came into this industry a little bit differently from a lot of people. I was actually an enforcement officer with the Ontario College of Trades. So when that was starting to kind of leave the sector, I had the opportunity to get this job, and ironically enough, my son is actually a drywall acoustic mechanic. He's been in the trade for 10 years, and I can tell you how successful he's been. He's almost 29 he's 29 years old, and he's owned 2 houses. He has a car, a truck, and does all his vacations. So this trade financially can be very rewarding. Part of my job here is to help mentor the apprentices through their apprenticeship. I stay in contact with companies like Torino, with Anthony, and try to help them place individuals. If we have individuals from the union that are looking for work, I help with the union along with the contractors to make sure that they're placed in that position. I do a lot of job site, not job site, but school job fairs. We have a lot of tours with groups like Bolt or Building Up and groups like that. So we'll bring them into our training facility. We have over 100,000 square foot of training facility. It's quite large. Yeah, so that's the basics of what the apprentice liaison does. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. Christy, we'll go over to you.
Hi, my name is Christy Slade. I am a drywall finisher, also known as a taper, with the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades. I'm currently based out of Hamilton, Ontario, but I work for Allis Drywall based out of Waterloo. So I actually dropped out of school at the age of 14 and started working in the nursing home with my mother. And then at the age of 16, a group of my friends that were tapers and drywallers asked me if I wanted to join their company. And I thought it was great. They always talked about how great the sites were and how much fun they were having. So I was ready for that. I wanted to join. So I started working with them at the age of 16 and learned a little bit of everything, taping, drywalling, a little bit of framing. At the age of 29, I met my dad's best friend who retired from the union. And he told me how great it was. I already had like 14 years of experience. He gave me one of the reps numbers. I called and I joined, and I am now a proud member of UPAD for 5-6 years now. And I can't tell you how great it is. I have an international family and I just love them. And it's just like this international community family. I love it. I couldn't picture myself doing anything else. And we do a lot. I feel like we do like a lot of drywall art. There's so many different things you can do in this industry. I just love it so much.
Oh, you can definitely tell. Thanks so much for sharing that. Scott, we'll go over to you. Same question.
Hi, my name's Scott Broome. I'm a union rep for Local 675. I've been in the trade 23 years now. I was an auto mechanic, and that was just going downhill. So my buddies used to do houses on the side. I joined them. I did the trade for 15 years. The last 7 years, I've been a union rep. My job is to make sure the guys are getting paid, the guys are taken care of, and make sure they get their benefits. And if they have any problems on the site, that's what my job is, to go in and make sure and take care of them all. I love the trade. I support the trade. That's why we wanted to get in this on with you guys at Bolt.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for that. So without further ado, I think we can dive into the broader discussion and some of the questions that we've already received from the audience. So as we've seen from the video, a career in drywall has a number of different options. So Tom, you kind of already started explaining those. So if you can tell us a little bit more about what the different trades are that are associated in this field, maybe explain each one of them briefly and let our audience know how they're unique and what the difference is between them.
Certainly. I'll first talk about the drywall acoustic side. As your video explains, there's a lot of elements to that trade. So again, as I mentioned, my son is in the trade. And when I told people, yeah, my son's a drywaller, they don't really understand the extensive amount of work that's actually involved in that trade. So you could be a boarder that's putting the actual drywall on the wall, or a framer, or you could be doing the drop ceilings, which is called the T-bar ceilings. All this is commercial grade, so we're building schools and hospitals and condo work. Or you could actually just specialize in the one. So my son, all he does is metal stud framing. That's what he enjoys doing. He's really fast at it, and him and his partner will usually be the first ones on that job, and they start framing. So that's kind of, you could be part of one trade but do very different elements of that trade, or you could specialize in one section of that. The drywall finisher tapers, like Chrissy had mentioned, again, very challenging, fulfilling career. The one unique thing that I always find when I'm interviewing my apprentices, and one is applying for the drywall acoustic and one's applying for the finisher tapers. The one on the acoustic side are the ones that want to build. They're the ones that want to construct and see that place all framed up with metal stud and everything's perfect and ready to go. And then the finisher side, they're the ones that more like have an artistic ability and they really want to see the perfect job. One of the great things about the finisher trade tapers like Chrissy is we do have a large female intake. We usually have about 14 in our class for each class, and we usually average about 2 to 3 females for each class as well.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's a very good point. And Christy, if you don't mind, we'll jump over to you because we'd love to know a little bit more about what your typical day-to-day looks like as a drywall finisher. If you can let us know what type of work you've been doing, what type of sites, and I think a really important question that Tom just started getting to is, what is the importance of physical strength and endurance as part of your work? That was a lot of questions into one.
So my day-to-day will be, so you work for a union company, there's designated sites. They could be locally, they could be an hour away. Wherever you travel to, usually they give you travel pay if you're going like over an hour or something, which is no big deal. So I would go to my site, which could be a commercial building, could be a custom house, could be a historical building. That's the excitement of the job. You never know where you're going next. So you would arrive on your job. You have your basic tools like your knife, your trowels, your whatever. You can also get into using some machines. There's like Can-Am tool. They have like different tools and stuff to make it easier. These are more affordable if you're getting started in the union to buy, just letting you know. So yeah, I would unpack all my stuff, head in the job site, meet my foreman. He would show me around the site and be like, okay, these walls need to be taped. Maybe this is a fire seal wall, whatever the case may be. All my materials there, I just set up, I'd mix up my mud and I start taping. And it's pretty simple as that. And all the guys, as an apprentice, the people, the journeymen, they're so willing to teach people. Don't be scared to ask questions. Everybody's willing to help. We want more people in the trades. It's a friendly place. So as far as physical strength and endurance is something that I feel like you kind of build over time. When you're first starting out, I feel like you might not necessarily have that, but you will build up to it. You'll work your way up to it. Even when I joined the union, I'm like, okay, now I'm doing large scale jobs, a lot bigger than what I was used to. It took a little bit to get used to, but I feel like your body, we just get used to it. And it's not so bad.
I love that. I mean, coming from you, I love that to hear that. And I think because you said that you have done all the other pieces of the drywall trades before, would you say that the finishing side is a little bit lighter on the physical side because you're not lifting much heavy things, or does it sort of even out?
Well, definitely lifting drywall is a heavy, hard lifting job. The 12-foot 5/8 sheets, no joke, are heavy. But I will pick one up once in a while just to let the guys know I can still lift them. But taping, you're lifting a bucket of mud. It can be physical. You can fill up a half a bucket of mud if you want, just to get started while you're building up the strength. And then, like I said, there's machines and stuff you can purchase to make it easier. I started out with Can-Am tools. I feel like they have really good products for apprentices starting out. And yeah, if you want to get started on the machines, I feel like they're a good brand to start out with.
That's great. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. So no, Tom, we'll go back to you. And I think you touched a little bit about an apprenticeship, and I think we're throwing some words around here that it will probably be good to unpack. So can you explain to us what an apprenticeship is and what some of the benefits to that training approach are? And what does that look like? How does an apprentice then become a journey person?
Great. Okay. So I always have that in my question when I'm interviewing an actual candidate. I ask them, do you know what an apprenticeship is? And really, I've used this one line. It's you're earning while you're learning. So with all trades, you have a section where you'll be going to school or to the trade school. And then there's a majority of the time where you're actually doing practical work on the job site. So all trades have a different requirement for hours. So for instance, the drywall, acoustic, and both our finishing trades require 5,400 hours of apprenticeship time. Now, while you're at school, you're not getting paid, but we do give you a credit of hours while you're at school. So it's not like it's a waste of time while you're at school. So what'll happen is, so I'll give you an idea. The finishing trade is a 12-week course in our training center before you even start work. So you come to school for 12 weeks, you do our course, and then hopefully I find a job placement at the end of that time, and you'll go out and you'll start working as an apprentice from day one. The drywall acoustic is a little bit different, is that what we do is you might have somebody like Anthony's company that's looking for apprentices, and they may send them to the union. They get signed up with the union, they go out and work, or we have what we call greenies, individuals that have come in and they're looking to get into the trade, but they don't have a contractor. So I'll take them in, we'll interview them, give them all the information they need, and try to hook them up with a company like Anthony's, Torino, and get them a job placement. With that trade, they'll go out and work for about 9 months to a year on the job site. That could entail the first month or two of moving material around and cleaning up, which is also a good thing because you're learning the terms of the trade, you're learning the different products, the different size of studs or drywall. So you'll do that for a while, or some companies may get you right on the tools, which means they have you start installing drywall or framing. It just depends on the company and the way they work. So with the drywall acoustic, within 9 months to a year, they'll be invited to their first block of 8-week training. So they'll come into school, what we call basic. They'll do their 8 weeks, then they go back out and work for another year to a year and a half. Then they'll come in for advance, and that's for another 8 weeks. One of the great things about that is because they've been out in the industry working, they'll actually be eligible for EI. So while they come to school, they can collect their EI. So it's not 100% of where they're not making any money. They're generally allowed to, or they'll be eligible for that. During their apprenticeship, I also explained the grants and loans, and I can talk about that whenever you're ready, Raleigh. You can key me on that one. So that's how those two trades generally work. And once they've completed their 5,400 hours, we call that completed as an apprentice. Now they're eligible to write their certificate of qualification exam. So they'll book that through the ministry. They pay the ministry for that exam. They'll write that, and as long as they pass that by 70%, they'll end up with their C of Q, our short term of the certificate of qualification. Both of them are red seal, as I explained, and now they become journeymen or journey persons.
Well, that was a great explanation. Thank you so much. I'm glad we're recording this so we can play it back for anybody who's interested. And I'm going to stay with you just for a little bit because you did talk about the application process. So I'd love to hear more about what it is that you look for when you're assessing new applicants to start their training. Are there basic requirements? Do they need a high school diploma? And a very popular question is, how much math?
Okay, so for both of the trades that we've been talking about, they both have the same requirement, which is a grade 10 minimum, and they have to have acquired all 16 mandatory or compulsory credits, including grade 10 English and grade 10 math. Both the drywall acoustic, yes, you need to know your basics in math. Like there's calculations that are done, as you can see through the video. There's floor layout that you learn. You need to know how to use a tape measure. So usually your grade 10 math will get you through whatever it is that you need. And you're going to learn as you're going along. It was funny because my son was, working some basic construction before he got into the trade. And you know what? It was even then I had to go through the tape measure. A lot of people don't really know how to read a tape measure, but that all comes through the apprenticeship. So that's one of the requirements is grade 10. The other requirement is that they're either Canadian, and these are the rules through the Ontario government apprenticeship program. It's not the trade requirements, it's the Ontario apprenticeship requirements. So grade 10, they have to have Canadian citizenship or a permanent residency. They have to have proof of Canadian citizenship, birth certificate, and photo ID. And really, that's it. The drywall, the finisher plaster, it's more of a technique. It's not so much, you're not calculating anything because you're finishing most of the work. So there isn't a lot of math that's involved in that one, but there's a lot of skill involved.
Well, absolutely. I've seen those finishings, and that is masterful. As Christy will tell us. Well, that's great, Tom. Thanks so much. Scott, we're going to go over to you because within the drywall trades, you hear a lot of the term piece worker. So I'd love to get you to explain what a piece worker is and how that's different from what Tom just talked about. Or is it?
With our piece workers, we have piecework framers, piecework drywallers, and we have piecework layout people. So just as you saw in your video. Now, with Anthony's company, he has houses and he has condos. So most of the piece workers work in the houses. The housing guys are the boardmen usually, plus insulators in the houses. In the condos, we have the metal framers, the drywallers, and insulators. But we also have piecework layout guys too that are there. They do all the layout, come in, do everything, make it easier on the piece workers. So the piece workers just go in and make their money. Now, most of the piece workers are either guys that worked under their father and learned the trade. As in with Tom, the apprentices, we want them to come in and learn it. And it's not like, I know you said it's drywall, but we do wood ceilings. We do fabric panels. We do, we have prefab panels that we put up too. We, the malls, the hospitals, this is all of it. The condos and the houses are all piecework. Now, if you can get somebody to train you to become a piece worker in a condo, it's great because I got guys that make $150,000 to $200,000, but they work hard. And you can make as much as a journeyman does our journeymen are at 46.21, I think, Tom. And you can make that wage. Most piece workers are a subcontractor, so they kind of come and go as they please. If they don't want to work, they don't have to. But unless you work, you don't make money. So that's the one thing about the piece workers.
Right. So is it fair to say that instead of being paid by the hour, they literally get paid by how
the square
much
foot?
So
with
right. Okay.
So drywallers are it's per 1,000 square feet. Metal framers is per linear foot. And Anthony, you got to help me on this one. The layout guys, I think it's the same as the metal framers. Am I correct?
That's correct. And Scott, talking about piece workers, I jumped into our payroll just to see some of our highest paid piece workers over the last few years, and the numbers were amazing. I had one metal framer actually make $9,500 in 1 week as a framer. It's about $500,000 a year, guys. I had a boardman that made $6,000 in a week, and a top taper that made over $3,500 in a week. Now, these guys are working, 7 days a week and probably 12, 14 hours a day, and they're experienced. But that just to show you that, the sky's the limit here when it comes to being on a piecework salary, right? And
like Anthony says, with the piece workers, you work for your money. So if you want to work a half a day, you work a half a day. If you want to make what he said, like $9,000, then yeah, you're there 8 hours a day. Some of the guys 12 hours a day, but most of them are averaging 8 hours a day. They're there. And the one thing about like the sites down in Toronto, they do shut down. Some of them shut down at 4 and 5 o'clock at night. And some of them you don't even open on weekends. It depends on what the push is on the sites. Now, with the condos, I have one coming up in my area. It's a 110-story building. It's just starting to come out of the ground. But then I also have buildings where it's all fancy custom work. I think Anthony has one of those projects right now. It's in Rosedale. It's all custom. Every unit in the building is custom. Not one unit is the same. That's with the condos. And the houses, it's, whatever they're building at the time. But with the condos, you never know what you're going to get, because it could be a straight room. It could be a small one. It could be a 3-bedroom. It could be a bachelor. It's like I said, whatever you do is how you make your money. So you got to decide, if I want to make a large, then I'm going to work my butt off for it.
Well, I love that as an option. And I love this. You're kind of getting into what Christy was saying about the variety of the work as well. So Christy, I think you want to add on here.
I do. So they're talking a lot about the pieceworking, and yes, the money is endless pieceworking. And yes, you can work 7 days a week. You could be taping houses nonstop, or you can work hourly, and the journeyman rate can be up to $50 an hour. And you could take your weekly pay home and you still work hard. I work as hard as a piece worker and have your weekends off and your holidays off. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. The piece workers, like I said, the money, the sky's the limit. But even hourly, you can make a lot of money being hourly also, and still have that time. Say you have kids or something and you're not able to be a piece worker and you want to come home at the end of the day, you can work your 40 hours and get paid every Friday. So I just want to throw that in there.
Absolutely. No, you're right. Christy's right. Like with our apprenticeship, our apprentices start at
43.
And then when you get the first 1,900, 1,800 hours, you go up $3. And then from there, it keeps going up until you hit 5th year. And then once you're done your 5th year and you have, like Tom said, the 5,400 hours, then you go up to 46 and change. I mean, time this contract's done, I think our guys are going to be almost $51 an hour for a journeyman. Foreman, they get a little bit more, but you also have more stress and everything with being a foreman. So,
yeah. Well, my main takeaway from this entire conversation is there is a pile of money to be made, whichever way you want it. And there's just a lot of flexibility based on, your personal circumstances and your personal drive and how many hours you want to put in and how much money you want to make. And quite frankly, that is, I think, best case scenario for a worker, that you're not being limited from that side of things. And I think one of you said it, sort of the sky's the limit in terms of what you want to do. Tom, you want to add something in?
Yes, thank you. And as Scott was mentioning, we really want to promote the apprenticeship as much as we can in all these trades. And that's one of the things that we try to discourage is the piecework during your apprenticeship. So I want to just kind of make that clear that we really want individuals that are in the apprenticeship being paid hourly. It's a lot easier and a lot more accurate to keep track of their hours through their apprenticeship. Once they've got their CFQ, it's, then you can pretty much do whatever you want.
And if I could expand on that, sorry, Val, just to say, out of the top workers that we have hired in Chirino, they have all come through an apprenticeship program. So guys, it is worth it. We look at our top performers and our top earning workers, and the common denominators, they've gone through the apprenticeship program. So I know you want to jump right into the money full throttle, but believe it or not, going through the proper steps, learning the proper techniques will only help you and advance you down the road.
You never stop learning in this trade. Let's get this one thing straight. So you never, because every year the architects come out with something and they go, here, drywallers, you figure it out and how to put it up. So, I mean, we've had companies that have won awards for their jobs that they have done. One was down at the architectural school in the University of Toronto. Now the ceiling was curved every which way you can possibly go, but they've won. And I mean, the hospitals, you look at the hospitals, if it's not for the drywallers and the framers and our guys going in and the tapers finishing, nobody's got any work. So, I mean, that's my opinion. I'm very proud of this trade, but if it's not for us, nobody has anything. I mean, houses are different, they frame them, but again, unless it's finished with between the drywallers and the tapers, nobody can go in or do anything. So that's one thing about this trade. And we have heavy gauge things too. Like we do all the plazas. We do the malls, the hospital. On the outside of the condos, there's heavy gauge that we do there too. So it's a vast trade. And you never stop learning. That's one thing I could say about this trade.
Well, I love those 2 points that you never stop learning, and what Anthony and Tom said, and that's the quality of the work. Like piece worker also means you have to do it well. You don't just go and get to do that because I'm assuming you'll make him redo it if it's not done the way it's supposed to be done. So that's a very good point. I think that there's a reason why there's skilled in front of skilled trades, because you do need to actually learn it and be patient. But certainly there's a lot of opportunities there. And Anthony, I think you already touched a little bit on this, and so did Scott. But the question that came through is, what are the hours like? And I think you sort of, there is a variance, but as much as you can talk about that as an employer, maybe just from Torino's perspective. So how many hours and days a week can apprentice or journey person expect to work? And a follow-up question to that, does someone need experience to get started?
So we expect a minimum of 40 hours, which is fair. And like I said, for once you're a piece worker, once you're a journeyman, the sky is the limit. So you guys can work as much as you'd like. Typically with experience, I mean, in order to become a successful journey person, the stages of going through the apprentice program is important. To be an apprentice for, Scott, I believe it's 4 years. 4 years as an apprentice.
4.5 to 5. It depends on where you work.
Depending on where you work, 4 years as an apprentice. But again, guys, these apprentices they have good rates. You're still bringing in good money. And then from there, once you're a journey person, that is where the bigger money starts to come. So even hourly as a journey worker, our average worker is making $1,850 to $1,865 a week. And that's plus benefits, plus pension on top of that. So
plus vacation pay.
Plus vacation pay. So, it is a great industry if you guys want to, for those looking to make good money. The experience to get into the apprenticeship program is not, there's not really anything that, as long as you guys have the right attitude, the willingness to work, hardworking and willingness to show up is you're ready to come on board. There's no previous mandatory experience that you do need. And, our industry is great because drywall is great because, it exposes you to early stages of the project till the finishing touches of the project. So you're able to see a whole wide bandwidth and scope of the production of a project from start to finish. So.
We also have pre-apprentices. So we have a 90-day program that if you want to try it out, we can start you at a 90-day to see if you actually like it. I don't know if the tapers have it, but I know with our industry, we do have a 90-day program. I know I've sent guys to Anthony for 90-day programs, and they eventually either they love it or they don't, but most of the time they love it and they go on. I mean, with our training center in Tom, like we have blueprint reading, we have layout, and we do scissor lift. We never stop learning in this trade. It depends on how far you're willing to take it. You can go from being the apprentice to the journeyman to a foreman, even to a supervisor. I mean, most of the guys that Anthony have, and that's basically how they started out. So that's one thing about this trade. You never stop from day one, or you become a rep.
Yeah. Someone's got to put you out of a job, right? Take over.
I got 8 years left.
Well, I think that was a really important point that you made, because many other unions in different trades don't allow for this, like, just give it a try period. You kind of have to be in it, and you have to be committed to even get your foot in through the door. So I do want to highlight what you said there, because I think it's really important. It's a lot like, don't let us tell you how great it is. Come and try it out for yourself, and see if it's the right for you.
So like with a lot of our membership, they have teenage sons that are 16, 17, 18. And a lot of times they could be in university, but in the summertime, they bring them. So we put them on a student permit, and they come in and they learn that way too, right? Like, it's a vast way of getting it. I know with the plumbers and everybody, it's either you got it or you don't got it. With us, try it. See if you like it. If you want to make it, you're going to make it. And you can tell. Like, the one thing we say to them, show up on time, listen, and don't be afraid to ask questions. And that's the main thing.
That's great. Yeah. Christy, did you have something to add?
I was going to say, yeah, I think that's really cool about the 90 days you get to try it. I don't know if the tapers offer that either, but I think that if you called the training center or the union hall, maybe they can connect you with a local taper that would be willing to let you come to site and check it out.
I love that. We'll definitely look into that. And let's stay with you for a moment, because I see how passionate you are about this work. And I love to know about the part of the work that you like best, and then what some of the challenges are that you found so far.
Okay, what I like best. So now I'm 18 years in. Like they say, you're always learning. There's always something new to learn. But now I want to get more on the drywall art side, where you can create flowers and different like designs and stuff made out of mud on the wall, and different textured ceilings, and plastering. Some of my friends are doing plastering where you make a ceiling look like a marble countertop. Like, there's so many cool things that you can do with drywall, mud, and plaster. So that's where I'm getting at now. And even trim techs make so many different cool corner beads. You don't have to be a carpenter to trim off a window. You could take 2 corner beads and fill them with mud and go around your window. You can make cool designs on the wall. You could do so many things with mud and be so creative with it. That's what I love about it, is the drywall art. And then some of the challenges I would say is, don't let anybody's words bother you. Just take it as, criticism or whatever. Listen to the journeyman. The challenges, I would just say, once in a while, you might come across a different personality of somebody that just might be a grumpy person. And you know what? All you can do is kill them with kindness. And don't let it get to you, and don't let it discourage you. No matter what anybody says, you stay in it and put in the time. Putting in the time and learning over time, you will get the skills you need, and you will grow the confidence as you go.
I love that. Don't let the grumps bring you down.
Yeah, stay confident. You can do it.
I have to agree with Christy on that. That's very well said. We see there are some of the foremen and some of the older generation of workers still in the industry, and the way that they were trained, the way they were brought up is a little bit different than so the next generation coming in would like to learn. But guys, be patient with them. Understand where they came from. Understand how they were raised, how they were taught. They do mean well. They just think that maybe their ways of training is the right way. And just take it in that, one day you might be in their position, and you'll be able to be a mentor, and how much better of a trainer or how much better of a foreman or leader you'll be able to be. And like Christy said, stick it out, guys, because there are so many benefits being part of this industry and this trade, especially the pension program that these both unions have. So to be clear, there's 2 unions. So the union that Scott's part of is Local 675, I'm talking about the Greater Toronto because I know Christy's part of the third union, but 675, which is your boardmen, your insulators, and your framers, and then 1891 has a union with their painters, and then Christy, you're in a different region outside Toronto, but I believe Raleigh would be able to provide all the union contact information and union rep information for everyone who's listening. It's a great and your main point of contact for those interested to get in. And Christy was talking about this before about if anyone's interested about sort of taking them around and it goes the same if anyone has any interest and wants to learn more, wants to go onto a site one day and spend some time. Raleigh, you're more than welcome to give my cell phone number out or my email address, and we'll put we can connect any interested candidates to a job site and talk to you guys one-on-one as well. Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you for the offer, Christy.
Anthony's in Toronto. I'm in Hamilton. I go to Tri-City area, so you can have my number too, and that covers a great span. So if anybody's interested, yes, all of us are willing to show you what it's like, and it's not as scary as you think it is. It's so much fun.
Okay, so just to let you know here, let's clarify something. With the commercial, yes, we're mostly in downtown Toronto. We're all the way up into Barrie. With the piece workers at 675, the whole province. We control the whole province. So
great.
Our guys are everywhere. And like Anthony said, and Christy said, you can go from you can be here and you can go to London. You can go to Kingston. I mean, some of our companies go out there. And as for Christy said about the grumpy old guys, if it gets too bad, that's where I come in, because that's when I step in to make sure. We want our apprentices not to be afraid. We want our apprentices to learn. Now, the old timers, like when I was taught in this trade, yeah, we got abused and it wasn't the best way to go. Nowadays, we understand the way things are. So if it gets too bad, the foreman isn't helping, then they can call us. And we'll step in and we'll go find out what the problem is and we'll try and fix it for them. That's what the union's there for. So we're there to protect our membership.
That's a really important point that, the culture sometimes, and I think it, sometimes it is a safety issue and it can be a little bit more direct. It could be a little bit louder. It could be a little bit ruder. But I love that you clarified that there is no room for bullying. And, as an apprentice, you should be there to learn and to grow. And if it's not an environment like that, it's great to know that there's supports available in order to find an employer or an environment that is more supportive.
Sorry, Riley. It's not just us. Like when the guys go onto the job sites, they have to go through orientation. So everything is a safety. They follow it. And the policies are no alcohol, no drugs, no harassment, no sexual harassment, the whole 9 yards. So these guys are always protected, and we want to protect their membership, because if we don't protect them, then nobody's want to come into either trade. And that's one thing that's very important to us.
And that's true, guys. We see it all the time. There's zero tolerance for misconduct, misbehavior. If there is an incident that's dealt with right away in all serious matter. The industry has stepped up completely compared to what it was decades ago to where it is now. So don't let that ever intimidate you. You're protected by a lot of people, unions, police, the builders, clients, and your fellow company that you work with.
Yeah, Christy, you want to add to this?
I just want to add, as a woman, being a part of UPAT, I don't think I've been harassed once. I don't think I've been bullied. Maybe I've dealt with one grumpy guy, but it has been, being part of the union has been such a professional environment. I mean, we like to joke around, but I never get bothered. Nobody bothers me. Everybody's helpful, nice. As long as you show up and you're reliable and try to be part of the team, they will accept you as part of the team and they will be there for you.
Right. And thank you guys. Sorry, Scott. I just want to thank you guys for this conversation, because I think it's so important, because a lot of studies show that young people these days, the standards are different. There's a lot of expectation, both about a rewarding job so that you can sort of see the fruits of your labor and you feel fulfilled, but also about, inclusive and welcoming environments because and I'm sorry that it took this long to change, but I'm really glad that it is changing, at least for this generation, so that it is more inclusive. Sorry, Scott, you wanted to add.
Well, just to let you know, like Christy, so we're part of the Carpenters Union, and with the Carpenters, we also have the Sisterhood of Carpenters. So it's for anybody in under the CDC logo that can be for women, and it's to make sure they're protected, they're well taken care of. I know there's still a lot of the old system where they see women on the sites, and it's nothing but a battle with them. Like, you shouldn't be here. This is not where you. That's not how it is anymore. We want everybody in our trades. We want everybody, and I'll tell you this much: the women work harder than most.
Yeah, I was going to say our top workers are all women, and we've had, I think, I don't know, anywhere from 50 to 100, anywhere from board women to tapers to framers, and we had this one girl. She must be 100 pounds, and she's putting up the 5/8 drywall, and so guys, girls don't be discouraged. Traditionally, construction was more male dominant, but now we are welcoming and happy to have so many more women come join the industry, and there are great, like Scott said, there's great forums and associations of all women that they can share their experiences and encourage each other. So yeah, don't let that discourage if any of the listeners here are women as well.
Christy, do you want to talk a little bit more about your experience as a woman in the field and if you would recommend this to other women?
Yeah, I would recommend it. I think the guys love having a woman around. Like, honestly, some of my tradeswomen friends are like, oh, they may feel like a few of them may feel centered out. I don't. I feel like I'm the presence on the job site. And I just feel like I brighten up all their days, and they come to me with advice. And I do have younger men, older men, and younger women and older women that look up to me because I'm willing to put in that extra time to help them. And I'm also a chef, so I bake the guys' birthday cakes and bring them food. And it's like, somebody you work with becomes like your family. It's like a marriage, like your family. And I just love it.
Well, honestly, I know we talk a lot about positive attitude, and you have such an abundance out of it. So I can't imagine you not brightening up anybody's day because you just bring such a positive energy. And especially in the gloomy winter days that are to come, I certainly would like to have you as part of our work crew and brighten our days. So thank you. Thank you so much for that. Anthony, I'd like to come back to you a little bit and talk about both the advancement opportunities that exist in this trade. I think you talked about, sort of how you started as a laborer and advanced from there. And then also about what you look for when you're hiring new apprentices.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all of our top foremen right now, we have 50 foremen, and they all started off as laborers, as apprentices and cleaners. And they put the time in, and we have some foremen that were tapers, some were boardmen, some were framers, some were insulators. So whatever direction you do head into, or whether you're framing, insulating, boarding, or plaster or taping, there's a chance for advancement. Yes, like Scott mentioned, to be a foreman does get paid top dollar, but it is a little bit more stressful. Eventually you would be managing a site of anywhere between 5 workers up to 100 workers underneath you, and dealing with drawings and scheduling and ordering material and budgets, and it's an exciting job. It's it's a very high respected job, and not to say that being not a foreman is not respected either, guys. There's the city the city requires workers for anything to happen. So there's such value to anyone in construction, any worker, whether you're pushing a broom to whether you're installing drywall or whether you're being a foreman. And I think there's been a big shift from that. There's so much respect for workers these days. Look at, even during COVID, the construction industry kept this economy going. It was the frontline medical workers that were out there in the field and the construction workers that were there keeping everything going, keeping this economy strong. So there's so much respect. When you talk about personality traits, guys, showing up is number one, and having the right attitude that you want to work and you want to learn. It's being punctual and it's having drive and it helps to be positive. I'm not going to lie. There are some days where you're cold and you're wet and it's a little bit, your hands hurt a little bit, but keeping a positive attitude is important, and understanding that it is all worth it. It's all worth it because you're one of the highest paid professions. I mean, if you look at the country's average salary, and you're well above double, right? You're double that as an average worker. So you're already starting off as double the Canadian average salary, and the opportunities are endless. Our head supervisor, who manages all 700 workers, oversees all the foremen. He started off by sweeping a broom. We have a project manager in our office, and he also started off on the tools as well. So, guys, the opportunities are endless. We see so many workers that start off and then end up starting their own company. So there's the possibility too. You guys can master one of the trades and continue to work hard, save your money, and eventually you could end up running your own company. That's how every company owner now has gotten started, right? So the opportunities are endless, and if you decide that you just want to, kind of put your headphones in and do your job and not have to talk to anyone, get to work, do what you want to do, there's room for that. If you want to be, if you want to socialize and interact with other trades and delegate and be on the supervision side, there's room for that as well. There's such a spectrum, and the more questions you ask, the more direction you'll have what best suits you. But also don't be discouraged, because we have so many people that have tried insulating and that's not for them. So then they moved over to putting up drywall, or moved in from there. They decided to frame. And then from there, we've had people decide they don't want to do any of that. They want to go tape and plaster. So just because you pick one of the five really categories of drywall, don't feel like you're going to spend the rest of your life doing that. You have the ability to pivot if you want to try something new and get some other experience, and that doesn't set you back. You'll be catch up quick. Okay, so the attitude has to be there, though. Okay, wake up, come to work, show up on time, and you take some direction, listen, and the opportunities are endless.
Well, thank you. I think you articulated all of those options really well. And again, I think it's great to see that there's so much flexibility, that there's so many different options, because, not everybody wants to be in a managerial position. It's a headache. But if that drives you and you're entrepreneurial and you like that side, and it's great that there's advancement opportunities for you to do that as well. So thank you for outlining that. And I think as with some of our other episodes that we've had, I love that everybody kind of focused in on the foundational skills, that punctuality, that ambition, that passion, that interest to learn. And, those are not technical skills. You don't have to go to school for those. So really, if you have those and you're interested in getting started, it sounds like now's the time. So we are almost out of time, and I will give each of you 30 seconds for our last question, which is, what is your advice to anyone who is interested in pursuing a career in the drywall skill trades? And Christy, we'll start with you.
What are you waiting for? Just do it. You won't regret it.
That's less than 30 seconds. Very good. Scott, over to you.
If you want to get into this trade, as Christy said, just do it. There's a saying that goes, you can go to university for 4 years, be 100,000 in debt. You can become a tradesperson in 4 years, making 100,000. You got to decide what you want to do. This trade is the best. That's all I have to say about this trade. I'm passionate about my trade. I love my trade. I love the union. And if it wasn't for this, I don't know where I would be, and tell you the truth. The pension, the benefits, I mean, we have some of the best benefits. The vacation pay gets paid out twice a year to you. So you're just, it's endless, you know. You never are on one job at the same time. Like, you could go from one job to another job to another job. So you're never going to do the same thing. And that's one thing about this change. You could spend a year in one job. You could spend, you know, a couple of months on one job. You could be all over the place. And one thing that's nice about our trade, you can also take the TTC to it. So that's one thing about it. 675, we're the best.
Perfect. And Anthony will give you the last word for the piece of advice.
Yeah, absolutely. What Christy and Scott said, guys, it's an amazing sub-trade. Like what Scott was saying, the proximity, there's so much work going on. You're bound to find a project close to where you live. The ability to see something from nothing, right? Like, you're not just pushing paper all day. You gotta, look, I did that. And that fulfillment is right there. And the demand, there is a shortage right now in our industry. For the amount of work that we have, the amount of work coming up. So now is a really good time to come in and to start to master this sub-trade. This country is booming. The Greater Toronto Area is booming. Southern Ontario is booming. You're guaranteed have work. As long as you guys work hard and show up, there will be a demand for work for the rest of your lives here. So really hope to see you guys. Please, like I said, if anyone want to learn more, please feel free to reach out to Rally. I have no problem handing over my cell phone number. You guys can call me. I can put you in contact with our right site project. If you guys want to do a day visit to learn more, come onto our warehouse early in the morning. You can talk to some of the guys. We're happy to do that. So thank you guys all for listening. I really appreciate your time. And thank you, Rally, for putting this together. And great panel, great discussions. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I can definitely second that. Local 675 and Torino Drywall in particular have been amazing in terms of creating these opportunities for young people and anybody who's interested. So definitely take them up on that offer. So that's all the time we have for today. Thank you all for joining us for this episode of the series. And be sure to keep an eye out for our next one that will discuss careers in precast. Recording of this discussion will be posted on Bolt's YouTube channel, as well as the SpeakOut page on our website, boltonline.org. I want to once again thank our amazing industry panel who took time out of their very busy days to share their insights, experience, and advice. Thank you so much and have a great one.